The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 211. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today's guest, I have a phenomenal lady on. I'm just really excited to have her on. She is the founder of LifeSite. She's also former Miss California, and she was a first runner-up for Miss America. So, she has many tricks up her sleeve, and I'm just really excited to have her on and share her story. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Crystal Lee. Crystal, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to our listeners.
Yes. Well, my name's Crystal. I'm actually streaming to you right now from Virginia, but I live in San Francisco, and my startup LifeSite is based in Mountain View. So born and braised. I'm hungry, so I'm thinking of braised chicken. Born and raised in San Francisco in the Bay Area my entire life. So kind of a Cali girl through and through. Interned at a couple of tech companies before founding LifeSite with my two co-founders, Chris Wong and Yunjin Chang. So having two women co-founders at this 10-person startup has been a really thrilling and humbling experience. I'm so happy to share the mission of the company and to be on your show, because I think self-confidence is a huge part of helping women advance in today's world. I'm no expert in it, but I definitely, as you mentioned, have a couple tricks up my sleeve having a pageant background.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Crystal, what would be your cultural background?
So I am a Chinese Taiwanese American. My mom is from Taiwan and came over here to get her master's in computer science. And then my father was born here to Chinese immigrant parents. So I'm 100% American, but also 100% Chinese.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
I think the quote that continues to drive my life is to take your work seriously, but never yourself. I read it when I was in grade school, and I loved it because it was said by a famous ballerina, and I wanted to be a professional dancer when I was little. So I really looked up to that attitude of always striving for excellence in your work and in your career, but always remembering that at the end of the day, you have to have a sense of humor, and you're just human, and life becomes a lot more enjoyable if you don't take yourself too seriously. So I like to laugh. I definitely am I have a very wide and diverse sense of humor. Lots of things are funny to me. But I also, when it comes time to work, take it very seriously. So I try to straddle both spheres and be the best in both areas, whether it's by hitting performance benchmarks and providing deliverables, but also being able to laugh at myself.
Awesome. And I love that. I'm like you too. I like to laugh at myself, right? If I make a joke, I'm the first person to laugh at my own jokes. And people might think it's crazy, but if I'm not the one who starts it, how else is other people gonna start laughing at them, right? And it's like sometimes we take ourselves too seriously, especially being Asian, being an Asian woman. Like, we're so hard on ourselves. We make a mistake and it's like it's the end of the world and we're considered a failure. Not realizing mistakes, will always happen. And they're just mistakes. They're things that you can learn from. And, maybe 2-3 years or 2-3 months down the road, you can even laugh at that mistake. So, I really love that quote that you mentioned, take your work seriously, but never yourself. Cause I feel like, being women and then being Asian women, we just take ourselves way too hard and way too serious about ourselves. So thanks so much. And, in your own words, how would you define self-confidence?
I think everybody has their own sense of style about how they carry themselves through the world. I think my experience in pageants has taught me to be at the same time polished according to Western standards. I learned how to do all of the things like style my hair, how to dress the part, how to walk in heels, and all that is fine and good. But at the same time, now that I've been out of the pageant world for a few years, I'm learning to really reappreciate who I am, even behind all of that glitter and glamour and all of that pageant training. I think self-confidence comes in many different forms. It's not just being able to speak confidently on stage. It's not only not knowing that you look great and feel great and can therefore behave as if you were confident. I think confidence goes a layer deeper than that. It's not just what you see, but it's also the energy and the source of drive that helps someone get up in the morning, that helps someone go about their day and do all of the tasks on their to-do list and, meet all the people that they have on their agenda or on their schedule that day. I guess this is a really roundabout way of saying that I think self-confidence comes from deep within yourself. And that's why quotes like fake it till you make it can sometimes appear to be true, but I don't think self-confidence is faking it. That's how to fake self-confidence, but real self-confidence is feeling like you know yourself and being confident in being an introvert, if that's what you are. Because I think people can be self-confident, but not necessarily outwardly what we think of as self-confident. There are plenty of women who I think are self-confident, but would never compete for Miss America. And you've got lots of pageant onlookers thinking, oh, well, she's not very self-confident. When in reality, we're just confounding what that looks like. We assume self-confidence is acting like you're self-confident, when in reality, there are plenty of people who may prefer not to speak in public or would prefer to stay at home and read a book. Like, that's a different manifestation of self-confidence. So I'd say it stems from deep within yourself and knowing yourself and being comfortable in the decisions that you make.
Awesome. And I love that. And it's true, self-confidence doesn't have to be like loud or boisterous. You can still be an introvert and have that confidence. It's just, taking action in what you do, even if it like scares the hell out of you. Right?
Oh, absolutely. It's being self-assured and knowing that like you made a decision. There's no looking back. And honestly, if you do look back, that's fine too, but like own it.
Totally. And I love it. Thanks for sharing that. And Crystal, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
I think my life was very normal. I was very lucky to have parents who put me into all sorts of extracurricular programs to help me come out of my shell and help me grow into myself. I think the earlier that you discover that, the better, because you have more time to experiment with the types of things that you like to do. You get to experiment with your passions and with your sense of style and all of that, including your friend group, the careers that you want to choose. But I'd say my life before I discovered self-confidence was very tentative. I had a lot of self-doubt, and the inner voice inside my head would be louder than the voice that says, yes, you can. The voice that said, I don't know if you're going to be good at that, so I don't know if you want to put yourself out for the basketball team. Or I don't know if you're going to be able to compete with the boys, so I don't know if you want to play handball during lunch. It's probably better to sit with the girls and pick flowers. Like, there are a lot of voices in my head that I think to this day are still very contradictory. I think it helps to have that voice of doubt because it keeps me humble. But at the same time, I am so glad that I'm now on the other side where I am more self-confident, and the voice that says, yes, you can is louder than the voice that says, no, you can't. So I'd say, I was pretty young when I was still sort of steeped in insecurity, especially when I was, going through puberty and all the hormones and just being a teenage girl in the 21st century. I can't even imagine how hard that would be today. But I'd say back then it was a louder voice of self-doubt. And I'm grateful to kind of continue on a positive journey of being able to have an uplifting voice be louder than the other voices.
Thanks for sharing that. And I think that's something we all go through, right? Our inner voice becomes louder. It's like we want to try something new and they're like, are you sure about that? Like,
Yeah.
You really want to be like, say, do you really want to be a dancer? You're such a klutz.
Right,
like
exactly.
little things like that. And then you're like, well, maybe my inner voice is right. But maybe it could also be wrong, right? And, the more we start learning about ourselves and, learning to love ourselves, the best thing is these voices will come, but you can be like, hold up, just because you said it doesn't mean it's true, right?
Right. And I mean, there are plenty of things that I think that are not true all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think that is actually what led to my aha moment, which was knowing that all the voices inside my head are only in my head. So if someone sitting across the table from me isn't hearing what's in my head, I can just, in a way, empathize with them and try to put myself into their shoes to say, well, what does a confident, self-assured, comfortable Crystal look like? And then I try to act that way despite everything that's happening in my head. So there's this movie that just came out. It's the Pixar movie with the emotions inside like the little girl's head.
Oh, Inside Out.
Yes, Inside Out. And that movie I think was really well done and really captures all of the voices that people have inside their heads. It's definitely a movie that I sort of wish I could have seen earlier in life because I think it helps, just remind you that at the end of the day, it's all inside your head. And if you let the negativity outweigh the positivity, it'll really affect how you behave. But the rest of the world doesn't see it. So you just have to remember that you can quiet the devil on your shoulder. You could quiet, the naysayer, and let the internal champion come out.
Awesome. And, I love that movie too. I mean, it just shows like, also our feelings, right? It's okay to feel what we feel at those times too, especially when we have bad moments. Sometimes we just got to let that out so we can get new energy coming in. So
yes.
And after that realization, when you knew that the voices in your head are just voices, I mean, what's your life been like now?
I've been trying to meditate more. I was definitely of the camp previously that was like, oh, meditation, that must just be for Buddhists, or it must be for people who like aren't very busy because they have time to sit in a garden and close their eyes and say Om. But all those like misconceptions and preconceived notions were so false. Meditation now has really helped me just clear my mind and to be able to channel out all of those voices to help me feel more in control. And I think my life, I mean, I don't do meditation for hours on end. I mean, there are some gurus out there who can do it for a long time. And I'm saying I do it for maybe 10 minutes on the Caltrain on my way to work, or, in an Uber on my way to the train station. It just helps me focus on quieting those voices because, naturally I do have, some elements of insecurity that do creep into my day. So it's important that I just remember that is all in my head. And I, just as my head comes up with those ideas, I am in control to like push them back down and to suppress them. And it's helped a lot because I think the less I spend time dwelling on it, the less powerful they become. And it helps open up my mind to let positive thoughts in and to let my mind be more prepared for the trials and tribulations of a typical day at work at a startup. Because it's important that I keep myself very ready and prepared for the unexpected. And I think that comes with having a clear mind first and foremost.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And, I love that you mentioned that meditation, like it doesn't have to be long. Because when I first started to, I fell asleep after 10 minutes. And, it can yes. it can be as simple as just 5 minutes of clearing your head. And little goes a long way. That's what people forget. A little bit just goes a long way. Whether you do it 5 minutes a day, I mean, it can change your whole outlook and perspective on life. So
yeah. And the breathing and all of the letting go of maybe even trying to stay awake is a very self-discovering thing to learn about yourself. And the occasional 5-minute nap is definitely not a bad thing either.
Yeah, totally. I remember reading a book saying power naps are actually good for you. So,
So good.
So I've started doing that as well. And Crystal, to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey of self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
It would be to remember that there's something about you that is more unique than anyone, that there's something about you that is truly only found within you. And I hope you recognize that and you don't feel like just, a lemming or just, a sheep in a 7 billion person herd. It's easy to think of yourself as being drowned out by all of the other people and all of the other competition out there. But it helps to remember that there's something special about yourself and to not be afraid of going through a process of self-discovery to understanding what makes you different. I also would remind all of your listeners out there that the diversity in your community and the diversity, in your workplace is all awesome. Like, try to surround yourself with different types of people. Try to constantly hunger to learn new things. I think diversity is key. Diversity in your diet, diversity in, where you go for vacation, diversity in the different, news sources that you read is all really good. So as much as routine help, I think trying to mix things up and embrace diversity in all its different forms is really great. It helps keep you fresh and helps you innovate and evolve as a person.
Awesome. Thanks for those awesome tips. I'm sure our listeners love that. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
You can definitely find me on Facebook. So you can just facebook.com/Crizzlelee, and that's spelled Crizzlelee. And given that your listeners are, empowered women and possibly individuals who are leaders in the home or might have children, LifeSite actually may be for you. And I just want to, plug my business really quickly. We make like a secure online vault for your life's most important information. And I have a special deal to give your listeners. So if you register at lifesitevault.com and create an account, you can enter coupon code LSV16 for 50% off. So it's typically $80 a year for access to this family vault. And you can share it with, trusted loved ones and advisors. And by it, I mean like the information in this vault. It's more secure than Google Drive and Dropbox. It's a sort of a secure private cloud network. Instead of $80 a year, your listeners would be getting it for $40 a year. So use LSV16 upon checkout, and feel free to let me know what you think of LifeSite.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And, thanks for that lovely gift to our listeners. And if you also want to connect with Crystal, you can also head on over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com and search for Crystal's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I really just want to thank Crystal for taking the time to share her story with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheena.
No problem. It was an honor having you on. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence, and we'll catch you later. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Tao of Self-Confidence. Get your free self-talk tape for building self-confidence by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.